we good? All right. Welcome to Fresh Tech Tips. I am Derrell Noris, CEO of Fresh Tech Solutionz. I have a couple of my Fresh Tech Tip co-hosts with me. Go ahead and introduce yourselves, young men.
Yeah, I'm Nicholas Mbaezue-Daniel, founder of Aegis Project Management.
And I'm Dr. Doug Franklin, CEO and co-founder of Deck Launch. Hey, everybody, how you guys doing today?
Doing pretty good.
I'm all right.
So today's Fresh Tech Tip topic is, what the hell is a pitch deck?
We should know this answer, right?
I know. Let me hit you with a definition, I guess. A pitch deck is a brief presentation used to provide your audience with a quick overview of all pertinent items concerning your business.
So generally how I think about pitch decks and kind of how we operate with regards to pitch decks is we try to get the fundamentals of your business together in a compact manner, because what you find with business plans, they're generally 30 to 40 pages long, with the exception of appendices, and now we're talking about 50 pages. And the reality is that outside of banks and some people that are real traditionalists with regards to business planning and showing people what your structure is for your business, they're not often really used. So we strongly recommend people to consider the pitch deck as their business solution to talk about their business whenever they can.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I want to kind of touch three things today. First, I want to get into, how do we use the pitch deck? Then I want to kind of hit on, the types of pitch decks that we offer and that are out there. And then we're going to talk about why even use a pitch deck. So Doug, let's go ahead and start on how we use these decks.
Okay, so when we talk about pitch decks, we think about three phases of businesses, basically all the way through the growth process. And so the first place that we think of at the beginning is ideation. So if you have a cool business idea or something, or it's a complete new pivot, really similar to what's going on right now for a lot of businesses where they're reinventing themselves during the COVID threat, we would talk about just kind of the idea part of a pitch deck. And so we have these, so we look at building out a concept that makes a lot of sense, so that you can share with people your early stage ideas. Sometimes we get, in the past year, we've had people who have told us, well, my idea is not far far advanced enough, so I don't need a pitch deck. That's not necessarily true. Just so you guys can appreciate it, the concept of the Deck Launch business came up when I built a very short pitch deck to share with some of my friends, an idea that we thought was really good. And we received at least tentative funding for the concept, but instead of working with that concept, we actually built Deck Launch so we could actually help a whole bunch of people. So it's never too early or too late to actually build a pitch deck. So let me talk about some of the later stages. So the stage we're generally more familiar with is where you're in pre-revenue. So when we think about pitch decks, we think about pitch competitions. We think about Shark Tank. So basically, this is where you're trying to find your investors. You're trying to find opportunity, And then your pitch deck is basically your storyboard or your vision board so that you can share the idea as clear as possible with your friends, family, community, investors, stakeholders. And then post-revenue, so maybe you've already have investors, but maybe you don't have a clear story for your business to share with your stakeholders, including your employees. And maybe you don't necessarily have a good way to benchmark what you're doing throughout the year. And so if you're building pitch decks, at least one pitch deck a year, or at least every six months, updating your pitch deck, you can actually see what has changed with regards to your strategy, who your competitors are, what the environment looks like. But most importantly, you're not writing 40 to 50 pages and building out a novel versus really building something compact that people can really understand.
Yeah, I love what you said right there. And first thing I want to hop on is that last part you just said. It's functional. Because the problem with business plans sometimes, or most times, is that it's so big, it's so cumbersome. You build it and then you kind of store it somewhere, and you're not really using it. So that way you can't shape or you can't strategize with it. Another thing I wanted to add is that everybody right now, especially during this period, is on one of those three phases. Your business, either you have an idea, or your idea just got going before this happened, or you've already been in business and now you need something to kind of refocus you. That's where a pitch deck can come in.
Definitely, and I love the pitch deck because it's so easy to get the idea and get the concept across. It's you can as soon as you see it, you kind of get the point. Where if you have a good pitch deck, that's what's supposed to happen. But I mean, personally, we see a lot of ideas, and we wouldn't have the time to just read business plans all day. Because we're not at that level, we're not that bank. We're trying to help people get their idea to these investors. So for us, it makes sense to use these pitch decks, and for a lot of companies and a lot of investors, it makes a lot of sense as well. So we did talk about how we use those pitch decks and what stages of our business. Nick, let's go through some of the types of decks. We can start with that teaser deck.
Yeah, so the teaser deck is pretty much that first phase that we mentioned now. So we're kind of keeping it in the same kind of order. The teaser deck is usually for the idea phase. You just want to get your concept out, flush it out. First of all, for yourself, and then so that you can share it to people, either to get feedback or try to get them on board. It's just getting your ideas and expanding it. And then the pitch deck, we're just calling it, maybe it's in between your big deck and your teaser deck, is where you add some financial details to it. So now you see revenue, this is how I'm going to make money, or this is how much money I'm going to need to get started. This is some of my startup costs. Just some things that an investor, someone who maybe wants to give you money, or who needs to see if this is viable or not, can get the information that they need. And then the third one is an investment deck. This is like the little baby of the business plan, but it's in pitch deck form, so it's a lot more compact still. It's a lot more agile. It's easier to find things on there, and easier to change it as you need to. So this one has complete financial information, P&Ls, everything that you can need, that a bank might need, or a higher level investor might need, is on the investment deck.
Yeah, and this goes back to what I was talking about earlier, where it's never too early to figure out what your business looks like with regards to building a pitch deck, or one of these types of decks where you have a presentation on hand so that you can show people at least your idea. So when you need help conceptualizing your idea, regardless of whoever builds your pitch deck, hopefully it would be us. The reason why you start building it early is because it allows you to visualize something. And then you guys know that I'm pretty heavy on talking about concept validation. It's very difficult to validate concepts or validate your idea if you really can't show people the full vision. So some people are going to be able to clearly understand from from written words. They're going to be able to understand from your elevator pitch. But if you can give somebody something comprehensive, and a teaser deck is between 5 and 8 slides of just images, ideas, and contributions to, you know, like basically how does your business benefit your end consumer. Giving people those little bits of detail really go a long way.
And at the end of this, we're gonna actually walk through one of our pitch decks so y'all can see kind of like a real life example of, you know, the different slides and the different things that go into pitch decks as far as, you know, the elements and the research that we do behind the scenes. But before we get into that, I still want to go over, you know, the uses of the pitch decks. So, let's talk about this idea development.
So it's really easy for us to just like basically just shoot off ideas. Like, I think everybody can relate to being the person of saying, oh man, I have this idea that I know will be a great business, or I don't think anybody's doing this idea. So this is your opportunity to be able to generate, to build or flesh out an idea, and then also be able to share it with people so you can validate the concept. And so that's generally why we do you use pitch decks for idea development. Also, a great benefit of pitch decks, and we've said it a couple times, is the financial the financial piece of it and the time piece. And so doing a business plan is going to kill a lot of your lead time, because business plans can take a very long time depending on the project. And on top of that, a lot of private investors tend not to just want to read a full business plan unless it's part of a larger program where it's something that they need to have with regards to documentation and correspondence.
With that being said, I still want to point it out that we're not saying don't have a business plan. That's not what we're saying here.
You should have one for the bank.
A pitch deck would be a great addition to that for those people who, you know, don't necessarily need that whole entire business plan that you want to get your idea to.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I was gonna say, Rel, didn't you get your didn't you pitch to somebody at a bar or something with a pitch deck on your phone? I forgot all about that in production, because that's a good illustration of why pitch decks are so valuable. Like, it's something that you can never ever whip out your huge business plan anywhere. There's not a one place except, you know, in front of a bank. But if the pitch deck is so much more accessible, I just remember that right now. I was wondering if you would just go over that a little bit.
Yeah, man. So yeah, you know, you're just sitting somewhere and somebody's asking about, you know, what I do. You know, they want to get. I tell them I make apps and have a mobile app development business, and then they're like, "Hey, I want to know more." They're like, "What are you looking for? What do you need?" I was like, I'm looking for investors. And so he was like, "Okay, well, you need to, you know, shoot me your information sometime." And I was like, "Hey, I got a pitch deck on my phone. You can see, you know, it had all the information you needed. It had the ask, the financial projections, the cost analysis, the go-to-market strategy. It had everything right there, and it was very easy to read. So, you know, it's just those kind of things. Having these kind of things on deck is good for your business. You know, because, you know, we're meeting people all the time, everywhere. Well, not now, but when life is normal, we'll be meeting people, you know, everywhere. So, you know, it's always good to have this.
Yeah. No, you were saying about agility?
Well, I mean, you guys hit it on the head. It's so like I keep all of our client decks on my phone in PDF, so that I can literally, so in case I'm sitting with somebody and we're having a conversation, which was happening a lot pre-social distancing, I could just flick open my phone. I could turn it sideways so you can see the deck in just a beautiful widescreen view. And a lot of people were really happy with that, and that's one of the things you really can't necessarily do with the business plan, you're not going to be carrying around, a portfolio or a briefcase wherever you go, so you can whip it out and then show people all the important highlights. And then I think the best part of this that we really enjoy about pitch decks in general is really the storytelling. And so a picture is worth 1,000 words. It really, really is. And it's difficult for us to be able to tell the story of our business without those additional images and graphics and figures if we need them. Regardless of anybody who's gone through an MBA program will tell you that even though they had to write a business plan, they also ended up doing a pitch deck for those major presentations for capstone projects and things of that nature. And so it always comes back to at least having your business plan, but definitely having a pitch deck that completely supports everything and allows people to see everything that you're doing in a much more easier to consume package, if you will.
Definitely.
Right.
So, Doug, can you gonna share your screen so we can pull up one of our decks so we can kind of walk through page by page, what actually goes into these pitch decks that we're talking about. We can answer that.
Yeah,
question.
I would look.
Is a pitch deck?
I would love to. So we're actually gonna look at an old deck launch deck for a pitch competition. This is actually an investment deck, but what I want to be able to show you all is that even though this is an investment deck, it has all of the fundamental slides for the pitch deck. So let me get us to the beginning, and then we'll be good to go. Hold on just a second, and we're there. So this is actually a 25 slide deck for investors, but I'm showing you all of the fundamental slides that we use for our pitch deck services. So for our general pitch deck services, we generally do somewhere around 12 to 13 slides. So if you look in the top right-hand corner, for those people who are watching us live on video, you'll see that the numbers are a little different. That's because I hid the additional slides that talk about detail. That's better for an investor deck, but not really good for a pitch deck for the sake of time. And for everybody who's listening, I'll do the best that I can to give you a visual, a verbal overview, and we hope you check out the visual by joining the Fresh Tech Tipz group or finding our videos on Facebook. So the first page is always a problem page. This one is a little bit less traditional than what we normally do. We like to try to find one big number, but one of the cool things about why we found a need for our business was that 9 out of 10 of the top 10 concepts are reasons why businesses fail had to do with strategy, not necessarily the cash flow was something, but the cash flow was a symptom. And so we found this really cool graph, and so we shared this graph. Generally for our problems or pain point slide, depending on what we had, we try to talk about what is the big need in the market that we're going to fill, or what specific small niche is missing that could be very profitable for a business to attack. This is where we talk about it here in the problem. What is missing and why does it matter? Then we talk about the opportunity. So for us, our opportunity is that entrepreneurship is growing. Entrepreneurship is probably going to keep growing because of the pivots, and we'll see that we'll see what happens post social distancing. The opportunity is a great place to show people how big the market is in millions, billions of dollars, big percentages of growth in a niche or an area. Or if you get a very meaningful quote from a high level executive. So, for example, if Warren Buffett happened to say something, this is your place where you would say, hey, this is the opportunity, but always try to back it up with research if you can help it. And then talk about your solution. So we really like to use icons wherever we can. We try to keep it closer to 3 as a magic number, just to hit people with 3 major points of what's going on with their business. And so basically, when you talk about the solution, you're really talking about finding the best way to show people what your elevator pitch looks like on one slide. The revenue model is very important. You just can't say, oh, well, we're gonna get paid because this is a good idea and this is an opportunity. The reason why I say that a little facetiously is because that is what happens a lot of times. We talk about the need, but we don't talk about how we're going to go ahead and approach this need and how we're going to generate money. So you talk about the revenue model based on the services, the goods and services that you can offer, and then if you were looking at it with regards to the investment deck, maybe you also talk a little bit about how what the mix will be. So for us, we spend more time doing pitch deck. We used to spend more time doing pitch deck development and revision services, but because of our pivot moving forward, we're probably going to spend more time doing progressive web apps and MVPs to get people out the door. So our revenue model has already changed, and this pitch deck is less than 6 months old. This is why we're saying that pitch decks are really cool, because they can be agile and I can change this very quickly. There's always a competition slide. We like the checkbox competition slide. We try to keep ourselves around some of the other virtual services where you can get a pitch deck, and we try to analyze what they do versus what we do. But because we try to focus locally and we try to also provide the people angle, we have additional resources that we do that a lot of our other competitors that do not. So you want to show that through these checks and X's, and you try to do the best that you can to be transparent, because obviously your competitors will probably have some advantages against you. And then your competitive advantage slide is an optional slide if you do a really good competitive slide. I just wanted to show one to you just in case, because this is one of those optional slides here. If you don't think it's very clear, then you can identify 3 or 4 points that bring you head and shoulders above your competition. Validation is the best slide that you could possibly have. So if you're still in the idea phase, on your validation slide, what you would be looking to have or show are maybe if you surveyed 100 people on the idea, what their responses were about your concepts. Where we're in the pre-revenue phase, a lot of what we look at is the successes of our clients. And so we have a client that received a large equity offer. We have 2 clients that were both in accelerators, one who is the pitch deck champion pretty much, and another one that has some really great partnerships with NASA and Microsoft. And so we wanted to make sure we highlighted them up front. And then also a couple of little statistical nuggets about what we find from our customers at the bottom, which is also really helpful. You're probably going to find a similar story of validation for post-revenue organizations as well. Awards are also really cool. So, for example, for the Fresh Tech pitch deck, we talk about all the awards that we've won through with Fresh Tech Solutionz, and then also a lot of Derrell's accolades, as he's the CEO of the business. so because we were asking for an investment, we had a page to show where we were going. And so this is a cool place where you could kind of show people where your vision is. And so we wanted to show people that we were planning on getting to software as a service. And so the first thing we did was put together a screen that looked like what it could possibly be on our laptops, and then also a quick phone screen of what everything could look like if we were going to go the SaaS route. Of course, you ask for investments. You got to ask for the number, right? If after you've given people all the information, they still need to know what you're going to do. And so, in this ask section, these numbers are obviously not the numbers that we would use. I changed them a little bit just for the sake of this presentation. But you would want to be able to identify how much you're going to use in specific for specific sections of your business. So and then you're going to either I take that back. So initially I was going to say, sometimes here, this is where you want to talk about some of the financial stipulations. So basically, let's say if you're asking for $108,000, like this ask is, I generally tend not to recommend to people to put the details or the potential details of the financial offer. Like if you're going to give a 15% return or a 5X over 5 years or a 7X over 5 years, I don't necessarily say, hey, just go ahead and throw it in the deck. If this is a preliminary or an exploratory ask, so in our pitch decks, it's a little lighter, but if you end up closing a meeting where someone's like, well, I want to see all the bells and whistles, then this gets a little bit heavier. You're probably going to have some pro forma statements in your deck, and you're also going to talk a little bit to what the return looks like and over what time. So this is our go-to-market strategy. We just try to put something together so you could see where we would be focused. There's because this is an investment deck, there's actually 3 slides to our go-to-market strategy, but ultimately we wanted to show the fundamentals of what's going on. Additionally, because this is a little interesting because we take a 2-prong approach because there's 2 different types of partnerships we're looking for, or 2 different types of stakeholders. If you just have one specific target market, in your go-to-market strategy, it might be better for you to hit key points about each type of strategy that you're interested in versus doing something that shows this comprehensive picture if you don't have like a whole bunch of stakeholders that are very important. And then, of course, you have projections of what you think it could look like. Again, if you have the investment and you get everything done. Again, these numbers have been changed a little bit. But this is generally what we hope to expect. Of course, with projections, they always have to be realistic. You have to be willing in your projections to be honest with yourself. You may not make money in the first year, and most businesses aren't going to make money in the first year, specifically startups, because you're starting really quickly and you're just trying to get the business plan up and validated as quickly as possible. But that's why you're seeking investment, so that you can provide yourself with the opportunity to be able to generate more revenue and hopefully be profitable as quickly as possible. The team slide is a lot more important than you think it is. Often we don't think about the team slide because we think about the idea, but the reality is for investors, you have to prove that you and your team can actually successfully manage the project and execute. And if you don't have a slide that shows everybody what's going on with your business, how your business can succeed and who is on this team with you, and shout your team out, then you're losing a really critical piece of like validating your idea with potential investors, because everybody has good ideas, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they have the team to support the idea being executed properly. One of the things that we really like to do that aren't in a bunch of templates is go back and talk about the future of an organization. So for us, we talked about some of the things that we wanted to be able to do moving forward. When you close, another good thing is to also provide a summary. There's no summary in this deck because it is it's an investment deck, and so basically we were going top to bottom. But I wanted to make sure that you could get as many of these points all together, so you can see what a comprehensive deck looks like. And of course, you got to leave your contact information. So if you don't have any contact information after you made this ask, then you're obviously leaving money on the table. And so that's the last thing we want you to do right now, when we know that your businesses need as many positive resources to help you grow.
Definitely.
So
Yeah.
that's pretty much our pitch decks in a nutshell.
Thanks for that, man. Thanks for that beautiful presentation of the deck launch deck.
Yeah.
Now, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. I think we did a pretty good job explaining, how we use pitch decks, how the different types of decks and why we use pitch decks. So after all of that, hopefully you know what the hell a pitch deck is now. I am Derrell Noris, CEO of Fresh Tech Solutions. Thanks for watching Fresh Tech Tips, and we'll see y'all soon.